This week's Parsha, Parshas VAYEIRA, the whole beginning of the Parsha, the Torah is Meirach and goes through Avram Avinu's Hachnosas Orchem. Not only was he Machnas Orech, he wanted to be Machnas Orech, and he sat outside in the sun, the very strong sun, to be Machnas Orech. Where is the Makoyer for Hachnosas Orchem? Hachnosas Orchem, is it Deiraisa, is it the Rabbanon, is it from the Taryag Mitzvahs? Let's begin this morning's Shiur with clarifying the Makoyer to be Machnas Orech. Of course, we see Avram Avinu was Machnas Orech, and a lot is learned from how Avram Avinu was Machnas Orech, but where's the Makoyer? So the Rambam in Hilchis Avelis, that's the end of all the Rambams, from the 14 Chalakim of Ram, the last Hilchas Avelis, the Rambam says, Mitzvah Sasei Shel Devreim, it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanon, and then the Rambam goes through different Levakar Choylem, which also we see in this week's Parsha, the Rabbanon Shem Keti Levakar Choylem, Ula Nachum Avelim, and then it says, Ula Lavas Ha'orchem, Hachnosas Orchem. So the Rambam starts Perek Yudal by saying Mitzvah Sasei Shel Devreim, it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanon to do the mitzvah Hachnosas Orchem. But then the Rambam continues after going through all the examples, says the Rambam Afal Pi Shekol Mitzvah is Elu Medivreim, even though all these mitzvahs are Medirabbanon, Harei Hein Bechlal V'Ahavta L'Racha Kamoicha. So they ask already, is it Deiraisa, is it the Rabbanon? We're going to leave it on the side for now. But the Rambam begins by saying that the mitzvah of Hachnosas Orchem is B'divrei. It's a mitzvah with the Rabbanon. But then the Rambam says it's included in one of the Taryag mitzvahs of V'ahavta L'Racha Kamoicha. What'd you say?
You put it right next to
PARSHAS, the Rambam's going back on all. Yes. All the whole list. Ula Nicham Avelim also, yes, Speaker Choylem, the whole list is included in the V'ahavta L'Racha Kamoicha. So it's a little less clear from the words itself from the Rambam if it's the Deiraisa or the Rabbanon. However, the Smag, the Sefer Mitzvahs God, the one lists out all the mitzvahs, the Aseh v'lo Aseh. He says that the mitzvahs Hachnosas Orchem is a mitzvah Deiraisa. Where is it in the Torah? Where is that mitzvah Deiraisa? So he says it's included in the mitzvah Deiraisa of V'halachta b'drachav. One of the Taryag mitzvahs, the mitzvahs Aseh, to go in the ways of the Rabbeinu Shalom. V'halachta b'drachav, to go in the ways of the Rabbeinu Shalom, to be Machnas Orech. So Hachnosas Orchem is Deiraisa, clearly. The Gemara goes through examples of V'halachta b'drachav. Though over there the Gemara brings, the Gemara on Tzeit Daf Yidal, the Gemara brings the pasuk, Achrei Hashem Elokeichem Teilchu, you should go in the ways of Hashem like V'halachta b'drachav. So the Gemara over there in Tzeit has many examples. The Gemara says that a person should be malbish arumi, should help out a person that doesn't have clothing, because that's going in the ways of the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Rabbeinu Shalom gave Adam v'Chava that didn't have clothing. It's malbish arumim. The Gemara says a person should be mevake choyla v'halachta b'drachav, because the Eibishter was mevake choyla in this week's Parsha Avram Avinu v'halachta b'drachav. Other examples, you should be koiver ameis. The Eibishter was koiver ameis. V'oid. Frekte shla. But if you take a look in that Gemara, the Gemara doesn't list out Hachnosas Orchem. You're telling me the Smag says that Hachnosas Orchem is a mitzvah Deiraisa included in V'halachta b'drachav. I hear. But why doesn't the Gemara in Tzeit list it? That should be a raya that Hachnosas Orchem is not included, for whatever reason. But why doesn't the Gemara list out in the mitzvahs Aseh Deiraisa V'halachta b'drachav? The Gemara gives examples. What happened to the example of Hachnosas Orchem? So the Shlosh says like this. First of all, it has to be that it's the derech of the Rabbeinu Shalom to do Hachnosas Orchem, as we see in this week's Parsha. Not that we see that Avram Avinu was Makayim, but as we see that the Torah Kedosha was Meirach, expands on the Hachnosas Orchem of Avram Avinu, it has to be that is the derech of the Eibush to do Achnasas Archim. That's what the Shloh says in this week's parsha. The Torah could have just said that Avraham Avinu was Machnas Eirich, the whole with the story and it was Pesach oil waiting for guests, the whole arichas and how he was Machnas Eirich, and even more. This that Avraham Avinu did by himself. The Eibush paid back, even in the schar. The Eibush paid back like it's more Chazal through the Eibush. What he did al yidei shliach, the Eibush paid back al yidei shliach. So it has to be that this is from Midosa Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'oyit says the Shloh that what's the biggest raya that it's Midosa Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Eibush is Machnes Eirich to all of us, every day, every minute, every second. We're all guests by the Rabbeinu Shalom all the time. We're in His world. And not only we're guests, we stay by Him, we live by Him. He gives us to eat, He gives us to drink, He gives us to sleep. He takes care of us. Like He says, if the Eibishter wouldn't be Machnas Eirich a person for a minute, it's over. So the Eibishter is constantly Machnas Eirich all of us. So Ein Lecha V'halachta b'drachav, God, meaning to say is the Eibishter is the ultimate Machnas Eirich all the time. So for sure it's Nichlal in the mitzvah say the Reis of V'halachta b'drachav. In the Shloh, the Hagah, in the Shloh, I think it's from a son, asks that Lamaisa, the Toras Kahanim, the Rambam brings it, the Toras Kahanim learns V'halachta b'drachav, I believe what we're more familiar with, Mahu Racham, the Eibush is a Racham, we also should have Rachmanis, the Eibush is Mahu Chanun, not in doing things, in other words, not Gemilas Chasadim, Achnasas Archim, Malda Sharumim, the Eibush V'halachta b'drachav in the Midos Kavayachal of the Rabbeinu Shalom. And the emes is that Lafi the Rambam that learns, I mean it's a Gemara, but the Rambam learns that V'halachta b'drachav, how he quotes is, what's the examples of V'halachta b'drachav is Rachum V'chanun. So that's why the Rambam actually doesn't say that it's included in V'halachta b'drachav. The Rambam says it's included V'hafta Racha Kamoicha. But he says L'maisar Agad, they're both true. It's not a stira. V'halachta b'drachav, like the Toras Kahanim says, to be a Racham, to be a Chanun. And V'halachta b'drachav, like the Gemara in Tzaita says, to also do what the Eibishter does. Koiver Mesim, Gemilas Chasadim, Bikir Choylem. Al Kaponim, step number one is the Makoyer for the mitzvah Achnasas Archim that we see that Avraham Avinu was Makayim is either included in V'hafta Racha Kamoicha or it's included in V'halachta b'drachav. Mitzvah Sasei Deraisa. How is one Makayim the mitzvah of Achnasas Archim? So the Goyin and Koil Eliyahu on the pasuk, also in this week's parsha, Vayita Eishel Be'er Sheva. So the Goyin quotes a Medrash in Tehillim, which is also a Rashi. Rashi brings this in Ksubas Tav Chesam at Beis. Rashi brings this Medrash in Tehillim. Eishel Vayita Eishel Zachila, Shtia, and Levoya, to be malava a guest. So to be Makayim Mitzvahs Achnasas Archim doesn't have to be that the person sleeps there. You take in somebody that's hungry, you give him to eat, to drink, and you also malava the guest. There's a story that in the times of the Vilna Goyen, there was somebody, a wealthy person, he had a big house, and he had an open house. Achnasas Archim, people came to eat, to drink. He was a Machnas Eirich. And Rahman al-Atzlan, he had a fire, and his whole house burnt down. He lost everything. So they asked the Goyen, the mitzvah of Achnasas Archim, he used his house for the mitzvah. That couldn't be a shmira that his house shouldn't burn down. So he said, the Medrash says, what's the definition? How you makayim the mitzvah of Achnasas Archim? Ach Eishel, Achila, Shtia, and Levoya. after the guest ate, you malav him, you walk him. Lavoya, you walk the guest out. This person, he was takam makayim, achilo, he gave them to eat, shtia, to drink, unbelievable. However, he wasn't malava the guest. And memela, eishel, if you take away the lamets, it's only eish. He doesn't say that the oynish came of eish, but he said al kolpanim, he couldn't have the shmira of the mitzvah achnasas orchem because he missed a part of the mitzvah. Part of the mitzvah is lavoya, to be malava the guest.
The achila and shtia part, why is it separate?
It's a good question. I hear Mishol, you're asking achila shtia. You give the person to eat, so with it comes to drink. Yeah, you're saying bishlam lavoy is a different part, being malava the guest, but achila, I mean, you give him to eat, you give him to drink. Yeah.
Maybe it's all chayim.
For sure that Avram Avinu gave, it was in the desert, and to give to drink is for sure a separate thing for us. I mean, what's the big deal? You just go to the sink. If you don't give the person soda, you don't give him l'chaim, so it's included, but sometimes it could be a big thing to drink.
Okay, but it's two separate things. I mean, it's considered one. No, but it's...
Namatstarif, yeah, Achila and Shtia, very good. We're learning Yuma, so to connect, very good. The Achila and the Shtia, yeah, it's two separate... Two parts in the Isser, the Din Inu, there's Achila and the Shtia, very good, very good. Just for a brief moment to focus on the part of Lavoya, there could really be a full shiur just on the Chelak of Lavoya of Achnasas Orchem, but just to bring mamash briefly, where's the Makor in Achnasas Orchem to do Lavoya? Achnasas Orchem we know, of course, to give to eat, to give to drink. I mean, even if it's one thing, but where's the Lavoy? Also from this week's Parsha, Vavram holach imam l'shalcham, so Rashi brings l'lavoisam, because he thought that they were a guest. L'lavoisam. Zok the Rambam in Lavoya, schar ha-Lavoya, to be malava guest, meruba min hakoil. It's more, even than the other parts. It's interesting, rather, the Rambam, when he says Achnasas Orchem, the Rambam that I quoted before, he refers to Achnasas Orchem as the Lavoya. Avadis is the other part also, but the Rambam says, V'hu ha'choik shechakeku Avram Avinu, in this week's Parsha, V'derech ha'chesek shenoaba. Now, of course, it's also to give to eat and to drink. There are Meichel u'mashke, u'levoya, to be malava the guest, yeser mahachnasasa, more than bringing the guest in, is to be malava. And the Chazal say, if you're not malava, kill the shayfach damim. Just to bring out, we're familiar more with achnasas orchem, of giving to eat, to drink, and maybe even the person to sleep, but the part also, to be malava, is super important. And the Mele stellt sich the shaila, again, there could be a full arichas about it, but stellt sich the shaila, why are we not makayim? The mitzvah Slavoya. The Emek Brocha asks the shaila, he says, Loi matzinu, that the world should be nizer. I had a grandmother, my father's mother, my grandmother Sheiner. She was very, very bedaktik b'Lavoya. Whenever they were very they were always machnas eirich. They were mamish, they were machnas eirich. Orchem bihidura, they were machnas eirich. And my grandmother was very, she did, and then when she was older, she says, tell the einakel to go be malava the guest to the door. Lavoya. But frek the Emek Brocha, loy matzinu, that people are malava. People are machnas eirich, unbelievable. But it's to be malava. So the Emek Brocha brings in the name of the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish's yahrzeit was yesterday, Nifter in Tafshin Yudalad, 1953. The Chazon Ish says that Lavoy is only when a person goes out by himself. But in today's world, whenever a guest lives, the streets, he's full of people, wherever you're going, it's not Yechidi. These are Rashi and by Egla Rufa and Saita. Rashi says that when you came out to say, so the Rashi says, Lo re'inu, we didn't see him Yechidi, that he went by himself. Al Kapanim says the Chazon Ish, that's why today it's less relevant, it's not so important, the Chelak HaLavoya. Though there's a Shaila asked, that the Malachim, when Avram Avinu was Malava the Malachim, it wasn't Yechidi. There was 3 of them. So just to go a little bit briefly touch upon on Lavoya. I want to share with the Olam a story that the Chazon Ish brings. Besides in honor of his yahrzeit yesterday, but this is mamash to understand, define Achnasas Archim. So we spoke about Achnasas Archim as Deraisa. We said Achnasas Archim is to give to eat, to give to drink, Lavoya. Maybe it's not so noyig bizman hazeh. These other terutzim. The Chazon Ish brings the following story. There was a person that invited a guest to come to him to eat Friday night to Suda. Proper Achnasas Archim, the person didn't have where to eat. He invited the person. His family knew about it. They prepared. They were excited. He comes home Friday night without the guest. And the family was very let down, very disappointed. What happened to the guest? So the person said like this, what happened? Why didn't the guest show up? Lamaisa, there was a miscommunication, and the Gabbai in the shul thought that the person didn't have where to eat. He went over to that tzorech, the person needed Achnasas Archim, and he told the person, you could go to this, to so-and-so. And Lamaisa, when he was to leave, when this person, the original Machnas Eirach, when he was to leave shul and he didn't see the person, he asked the Gabbai. The Gabbai said, I sent him with somebody else. Was he not going to go knock on the door and claim his guest? But Lamaisa's family was very let down. So he said, do you think Machnas Eirach is to have somebody to display a guest? The definition of Machnas Eirach is to make sure that the person is taken care of. He told his family, we were Machnas Eirach, because when I invited him, he was lost. He didn't have anywhere to eat. Okay, now he went somewhere else. Okay, very good. It's not the idea of Machnas Eirach. It's not like the pshat is you have an ani mehuder, like keep him, you should stay an ani. The person, the Achnasas Archim is to make sure that he's taken care of. So if he's taken care of, who cares if he's taken care of by somebody else, by this one, by that one? Over here he brings it. Ma'aseh b'chased echad. He says like this. Ein ha'oirach, the guest, is not ke'echad man achastim, like it's like to do business with. The way you do Achnasas Archim, we need the person to display, to come. The main point is, dagasi, what a person, my daig is, my responsibility is that the oirach should have what he needs. It doesn't make a difference if he has what he needs by me, by somebody else. It's important to understand the essence, the yesod of Achnasas Archim. Of course, the way you do it is achila, shtia, lavoya, but it's really more than that. It's to make sure that the person's taken care of. You see this concept in the Mishnah in Avos. The Mishnah in Avos says, Dalad midos ba'adam, and one of them is, I want to give, I want to be the giver, v'lo yitnu acherim. V'lo yitnu acherim. So Rabbi Yoina explains what is it, this unhealthy midah of I should give v'lo yitnu acherim. Okay, he wants to be the giver. Okay, he wants to be the center of attention. No. Dr. Rabbi Yoina, he missed the whole entire point. You want to be the giver? That's not the point. That you should be the one that has the open house. The Eibishter wants that the aniyim, that's for tzedakah, or the orchem achnasas archim, they should be taken care of. So if a person just wants that he should be the one doing it and not somebody else, it's not just stam that he wants to be the center of attention. No. He missed the whole point of Achnasas Archim. Achnasas Archim is to make sure that the person's taken care of. You should be just as happy if the person is taken care of by somebody else or by you. Like the Chazon Ish says that the person that invited, he gets the schar of the mitzvah. This person that his guest never showed up. Because Lamaisa, he did Achnasas Archim. He made sure that this guest should be taken care of. Just to even break it down, this yesod, how important it is. If somebody invites a guest, and then someone else wants the guest to come to him for whatever reason. It could be pashut that the first person, the first person is the one who was makayim achnasas archem. The second one, l'chayr, was zicha makayim because he was machrasa, but the first person was makayim. What I need to say is the Chazon Ish is talking about a case that the person never showed up. It could even be if you give over your guest to somebody else, you makayim the mitzvah because you gave this person menuchas hanefesh that he has where to go. L'maisa, someone asked to take over that guest. Okay, but say them, you gave him the place, you took care of him, now he's taken care of. And l'chayr, the same thing would be as if you go over to somebody and you invite him. He doesn't want to come. These such examples, the person doesn't want to come. Could even be you more than just chishev lasis mitzvah. That is the essence of achnasas archem. You took care of him. You took it. You gave him a place to come. To understand, sometimes a person looks at the mitzvah or different mitzvahs, midas, in the practical. Achnasas archem, the practical. He came and he ate by you. That's the mitzvah. The background of the mitzvahs, the Ratzon Hashem of the mitzvahs that he should be taken care of. Reb Shach Zatzal, whose yahrzeit is today, once gave a whole shmooze with many examples that you find that you can only be Mekayim Midas Toivus only al pi Torah. We say every day in Sheiner, Torah's Chayim va'avas Chesed. First, you have to have the Torah to be able to do Chesed. My grandfather, Melchemes Yudah, I've mentioned in the past, he has in this week's parsha, in Arichas also, different examples. We're not going to go into it, but examples where sometimes something looks achzorious, but if it's the right thing to do, it brings a meshech chachma. If it's the right thing to do, that's chesed. For an example, you see that Avram Avinu, this week's parsha, sent away Hagar. The etzem from the outside, it would look like Govaldig achzorious. Amalek, we're supposed to kill out Amalek. Killing out innocent people, if that's what the Torah wants, so that becomes the right thing to do. So that's back to achnasas archem. Of course, the way how achnasas archem looks good, picture perfect would look, a guest comes. But we have to understand the background of the guest, the background of the mitzvah of achnasas archem. Just to conclude, on top of this, one more point in achnasas archem, but actually just one thing. Of course, in the mile of achnasas archem, the Gemara says, Vaita from this week's parsha, the second Shana Rashi, that Godel achnasas archem yois mekabalas b'nei Shechina, and also these medrashim. I'm going to skip it. I just wanted to point. The Medrash says that we were zoicha to the mitzvah of Sukkah, still within 30 days. We were zoicha to the mitzvah of Sukkah because of Avram Avinu's achnasas archem. It's a Medrash in this week's parsha. But just one more point to bring out the musig, let's call it the hashkafa, the chayvis halvavos of the mitzvah of achnasas archem. We said one point that a person has to understand that achnasas archem is to care for the person. One more point. We're learning now in the night koil hilchas tzedakah. Wednesday night, I went through, together with the olam, the mitzvah's tzedakah, how to be makayim the mitzvah when you're already giving. It's not enough to give because the Eibishter wants you to give. A lot of marmakaimis and how to go about with it, but you have to give tzedakah because you want to give. Rav Moshe has a big arichas about it, that if a person gives tzedakah because he needs to give tzedakah, it's not going to last. It's not going to happen. A person has to train himself to want to give tzedakah, to want to do chesed, to be happy to do it. Meaning to say is if the ani comes, you should be excited. You should want to do the chesed. But here by achnasas archem we find even more. If somebody asks, could I please come eat by you, or you see in shul somebody that's a tzorech and you go and you do achnasas archem, you shouldn't just do it because Kach tziva habayra, you have to do it because it's the Ratzon Hashem. Of course you do it because the Eibusha said, but you should do it because you want to do it. You want to do chesed. But it goes even weiter, Rabbi say. You see something moiridik in this week's parsha. The Eibusha wanted that Avram should have it easy, and v'hoitzi chamam, and Atika made a boiling hot. There was nobody passing by. So like this, he could rest up. Avram Avinu was bitzar that he couldn't be makayim the mitzvah. He was bitzar. Frekter Moshe Feinstein writing in this week's parsha. What's the milah that Avram Avinu had tsar? If there's no guest, so you're not makayim the mitzvah. Of course, if there's somebody that's a tzorach, a person passes by and he needs to eat, he needs to drink, you call him in. But Avram Avinu was bitzar? Ramosha says, imagine somebody on Wednesday's bitzar that it's not Shabbos today. I mean, it could be a lot of people of bitzar, they would love that it should be Shabbos for other reasons, but if a person is bitzar, he can't be makayim mitzvahs of Shabbos. Today's not Shabbos, what are you bitzar? You bitzar, right now you can't eat matzah. When it's Pesach, you makayim the mitzvah. What does it mean? Zokter Moshe, and with this I'm going to conclude. Of course, like we spoke, that achnasas archim is to make sure that the person's taken care of. But Zokter Moshe, an Eved Hashem, to do the Ratzon Hashem, to makayim this, to take care of, a person should be meshtoikik, that he wants to be meitif, to help out. If there isn't anybody, there's no need, you can't do it, but a person should want to. So what we see over here is the mitzvah achnasas archim is to make sure that people are taken care of. But it's not just if the person is here, you're in shul and you see somebody's lost and you call him, that's very nice. But a person should go around all the time, you should want to. One of the Taryag mitzvahs, v'holachta b'drachav, is to have guests. A person should be meshtoikik to want to do it. You should zoichet makayim, the mitzvah of achnasas archim kitikuna. Have a wonderful Shabbos.